Well, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Let me go ahead and get stuff settled here today. Welcome back to Cowboys After Hours. Obviously, with today's video, we are going to be just talking about this particular offseason, having live chat with how things have gone, and realistically, is this the best offseason the Cowboys have had ever? That's what some people say. I don't think so. In their entire history, I think there's been better off seasons, but let's just be real. It's the best we've seen in quite some time. What's going on, Carlos? We'll let people filter in momentarily. We're having all this information posted up. How things and the Cowboys didn't do some signings as well. Is this the best offseason the Cowboys have had ever? That's what well, ladies and gentlemen, their entire history, I think there's been better off seasons, but let's just be real. It's the best we've seen in quite some time. What's going on, Carlos? We'll let people filter in momentarily. We're having all this live chat posted. Again, we'll let people filter in. And the Cowboys didn't do some signings as well. Is this the best offseason the Cowboys have had ever? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, please make sure that you like subscribe if you're better off notification of echoing real. It's the best we've seen in quite some time. What's going on, Carlos? We'll let people filter in momentarily. We're having it all. Some signings as well. Is this the best offseason the Cowboys have had ever? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, please make sure that you like history. Okay. See, this is what I don't like about OBS sometimes. Let me fix that. The one thing I hate about OBS from time to time. Okay, can you guys hear me now? I don't know why it decides to act up right when I'm streaming. There we go. Thank you. I don't know what it is. I think it was probably because what happens is YouTube, when you go live, you have like the live stream footage and stuff like that. I don't know what it does. It, like, for some reason it wants to turn on the audio, which I'm like, I always try to keep it muted, but fixing the ship in the air, you got this. It's all right. All good. What's going on, everybody? Hey, it gave people time to tune in, so you know what? It wasn't like we got into anything super deep, but thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let's get some shout-outs really quickly, and then we'll get into the content. So, Carlos, Regina, Tiana, Studwood Cowboy, Cardiac Cowboy, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. If you want to support the channel further, you can click on the pinned comment and try to become a channel member today. We're going to try and hit 10. We're at 2 right now. We're going to try and hit 10 before the NFL draft. So if you want to be a part of that, cool beans. So Cowboys made a couple signings. They signed a long snapper by the name of Trent Sieg from the Las Vegas Raiders, 28 years old. I have not seen much from, because it's a long snapper, so I'm not going to act like I know everything, but the Cowboys get a long snapper. They get that position addressed. I know he played, I think, with the Bills, I think it was. No, I'm sorry. He was on the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. He was with the Raiders from 2018 to 2022, and now he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. Young guy. Hopefully he'll stay around. But again, long snapper is something that you kind of just, as long as they're not being mentioned a whole lot, you're good. And I haven't seen the Cowboys have a long snapper problem in decades, so let's pray to God we don't. I think kicker is going to be the next big thing, and I want to talk about that in a second. So what we should start off with, because I did a video doing the recap of where we're at right now. So what I want to do is pull up the 2022 Dallas Cowboys team, if I could find it. And just compare and contrast. Because there's been the talk, and I know I mentioned it in some Twitter spaces, that this Cowboys team is actually better than last year's team. Like, we've started having those conversations. So let's see what we got here. Marquise, salute Space Cowboy. Keep pushing, bro. Greatly appreciate that. So let's take a look at this roster, and we're going to go like position by position. We're not going to do like opening one, day one. We're talking about at the end of the year, with all things considered, where was this team at, and, are we better than where that team left off? So, not touching up on the quarterback spot because nothing changed there. You got Dak, Dak's here. Cooper Rush is back. Will Grier will be in house. Running back, going to be drastically different. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys from last year had Zeke, Tony, and Malik Davis. Now, Tony Pollard has signed his franchise tag, which was smart on his end. For the Cowboys, you could have tried to rescind it and maybe sign him to a cheaper deal, but Tony's agent probably told him, hey, sign this because you're not going to get any more than 10 mil on an APY because you're seeing the market deflate. So you realistically look at that running back position, and I would say right now that's in a state of flux. If you think that we have better players, I don't know, because we'll have to see how Ronald Jones looks. You have Malik Davis still in there, and they brought back Rico Dowdle. Right now, that's a bit of a wash for me. Then you go to the wide receiving position. This is where I think the Cowboys really did some damage here. So you had CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Noah Brown, T.Y. Hilton, Jalen Tolbert, and Kevontae Turpin. Those were your wide receivers on the final roster. Of course, the Week 1 roster, you had guys like Dennis Houston, which was, good Lord. But the Cowboys are in a much better position, I feel. You have CeeDee Lamb. He emerged into his own. You added Brandon Cooks into the mix, who is better than any of the other guys. Then you have Michael Gallup, who this is really the biggest question for 2023. And it's going to really determine how Dallas approaches the draft. The reason I say that is because with Gallup, he was kind of like 40 or 50% of what he once was. And he had his moments, but nothing that we once saw. And I think that if he can be, what did I say in the previous video, like 80 to 90% of what he once was, that's still a solid wide receiver 3 for you. I mean, you got some cooking, you're cooking with grease right there. But then, T.Y. Hilton, he might be back. There's rumors circulating that he might be back. Kevontae Turpin, they didn't really use him as a wide receiver. And then Jalen Tolbert should be better. All things, if we're being real, he should be. I think that going into the West Coast scheme will help him. But I think the Cowboys addressed wide receiver immediately through free agency. I mean, we're, 9 days into free agency, and the Dallas Cowboys got a wide receiver 2/wide receiver 3. That's really up to you where you think Cooks fits into that mix. If you think Gallup is going to return to form, cool. But Dallas improves their wide receiving core, so they're better there. Tight end, you lose Dalton Schultz. You got Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot, and then you got Sean McEwen there. I think that Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot are on the upswing of things, and, when Dalton Schultz was out, you didn't really have these guys skip a beat. When Schultz came back, Schultz gave you some solid reps, but easily replaceable considering what people don't understand. And the video I put out this morning talking about how Colin Cowherd, he wants to say how Dalton Schultz is better than what he is. I'm not trying to act like Dalton Schultz is a shitty tight end or he's bad, But what I don't understand is, you know, you can't go out there and be like, this dude is an elite tight end. He's top 5 and all this other shit, when you can look at what he does, and when you compare him to other guys, he's not in that upper echelon of tight end. Like, he's in the good but not great or elite tier, if that makes any sense. So tight ends, I think that you're steadfast there. I know the Cowboys were interviewing some tight ends at the Combine. We'll see if they go down that route. But the last time the Cowboys drafted a tight end in the first round was David LaFleur, like nearly 25 years ago. So I don't think that they're going to go down that route. Also, Dalton Kincaid, that's a popular name that's being thrown around. He just recently... He just recently came out with back issues. Like, he said he was like trying to recover from some back problem. Nah, I don't want any part of that. If you know how back issues are, they get worse over time. The minute that he's not like the youngest prospect. He's going to be 24, 25. Hell nah. Like, we're not doing that. I don't want to touch the guy with back problems who's going to, probably just play on one contract. So there's that. Now, offensive line, I think this is where the Cowboys need to seriously work there. So we had Josh Ball, Tyler Biadasz, Avante Collins, Zach Martin, Connor McGovern, Peters, Tyler Smith, and Tyron Smith. Now, you kind of look at where we're at right now. You lost Connor McGovern, so you lose your starting left guard. And you bring in Chuma Edoga, so you get some quality depth there. But when you're really looking at this Cowboys offensive line, I think you need to get that left guard position figured out. Whether that be a draft pick or someone else, you had to figure that out. Now, from what I've been hearing with Brian Broaddus and those guys over there, the rumblings are that they're going to plan for Tyler Smith to be the left tackle, and Tyron Smith be the swing tackle. I don't know if that would be sensible. I think it would. It's just that you need to figure out left guard. So it's kind of like, okay, left guard is possibly a position they might address in the draft. So guys to keep an eye out on are Steve Avila, Osiris Torrance, John Michael Schmitz, who has that center guard flexibility. So does Steve Avila. Those are things the Cowboys do like. So those are names you definitely want to keep in mind. And that wraps up the offensive side of the ball. I think that Dallas improved at the wide receiver position by default. Tight ends, running backs, you're kind of neutral. You can argue that you didn't upgrade it. You didn't upgrade a running back, but you didn't improve. You kind of just sticking with where you're at. But we'll see where they go there. Quarterback, you're stuck where you're at there. And then offensive line, right now it's gone down, but you have room to improve that. So there's that. Let's go ahead and take a look at who is chatting in. Charlie G, but how can you say this team is better than last year, 12-5? The record, I understand people will look at that and be like, okay, well, how can you say that this team is better than the 12-5 team last year? And thank you, Coach Marv, Coach Marv, for the super chat. I'll get to that in just a second. So for me, the biggest thing is record can mean nothing sometimes, but it's all about how you're putting the talent on the field, right? Like, would you say that the 2021 Dallas Cowboys were a better team than the 2022 Dallas Cowboys? I would argue, yes, they were. The 2021 Dallas Cowboys were a better team than the 2022 Dallas Cowboys, but they had the same record. So, are we going to say that the 2022 team by default is better? And, they did a good job getting to 12-5, but now, we're kind of getting to the point where I just want to see these holes plugged up, and they're finally addressing that. You see the upgrades at receiver and cornerback. Those were the biggest holes last year. I agree. What's going on, Lord Nova? Coach Marv, Schultz is elite, yet Dak is kind of average. I don't get that at all. Yeah, we could just let Kincaid go to the Texans. I didn't want any part around one. Yep, gotcha, Brian. Lord, Jerry Jones is moving so aggressive as if you... If Tyron Smith signed to be the swing tackle, 26 should be O-line. I agree, Coach Marvin. Thank you for your super chat. I hope we keep Hankins. This team is not handicapped by bad play calling, and we'll talk about that last. I kind of want to get to the team first. And left guard, the most pressing need for me. Yeah, and this is kind of the part of the season where you can make arguments for what you want to do at pick 26, and you can't, you're not going to complain. But going back to Marquise's point about the whole Schultz is better than what he is, but Dak is kind of average. Listen, some people watched that video, and a lot of people agreed with what I was getting at. Some people were like, oh, he's just saying Dak is trash, or Dak is average because he didn't do well in the San Francisco game. Listen, there's no question he didn't play well in San Francisco, but what I find hilarious is that if Dak Prescott is kind of average, wouldn't you think that would reflect with the numbers and also with how the team performed in a certain sense? Like, for example, the Cowboys were the 27th ranked offense with Cooper Rush at the helm. They were not good. Dak Prescott comes back. They're number 1 to number 3 in that range. It moved up and down throughout the entire year, even with the whole bullshit interception issues and how the wide receiving core looked. And apparently we had a rebuilding offensive line. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Colin. Like, that's the part that irked me the most about a segment, is that you try to make it seem like, oh, Dak's kind of average, but look at what Kellen Moore had to work with, and now Kellen Moore's gone. It's like, what the hell are you trying to say? And I'll leave it at that, because that really kind of made no sense to me. Just, I'm all about consistency. That's all. Dak didn't have enough weapons. I agree. I mean, and it was easy. Like I said in the video, you not having enough weapons was the reason you lost. You can go back and watch the film. There are guys like David Carr, professional quarterbacks, GMs, all these dudes coming out being like, yeah, this is the issue. How many QBs put up 40 points? Didn't Dallas, I'm trying to remember, didn't Dallas, have the most, 40-point games or more in the season? I got to remember. My only concern is O-line and DT. Don't know if Steele will be ready and left guard is too shaky. That is a fair assessment. I'm kind of in the same realm of things. Let's beef up the trenches. So, I see a lot of people making Kirk Cousins comparisons. I'll mention this and talk about that, and then we're going to move to the defensive side of the ball. Here's the thing. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. And I'm not saying that to defend Dak Prescott. I really, honest to God, don't know why people insinuate that Kirk Cousins is a shitty quarterback when he isn't. He's at worst top 12, top 13, which is good enough to win with in the National Football League. So there's that. I mean, if you think it's because he can't perform in primetime games, well, I mean, okay, but at the same time, we're talking about a dude that goes to Minnesota and plays pretty well. So, and also when you get to the playoffs, it's about organizations, not individual players, even though, here's the thing, individual players can hold you down. So, didn't help what happened in San Francisco. So, let's get through the linebackers or everybody else, and then we'll throw in special teams there, and then we'll talk about the coaching portion of it. And then we'll move forward from there. Let's see, how many actual people do we have watching here? Let me see what it tells me here. 33 people watching. What's going on, everybody? Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, hit that notification bell, and you want to become a channel member, click on the pinned comment. I think if you're on mobile, it's a bit harder, so if you're on desktop, I think you're able to do it. I don't know why YouTube likes to be like that. Kirk Cousins doesn't play defense. Boom. There you go. Alrighty, so let's talk about the defensive linemen. So, in no particular order, so you had Dorrance Armstrong, solid player for you. Quentin Bohanna, Dante Fowler, who was a decent player for you. Neville Gallimore really wasn't missed, and I think he was healthy scratches as well. Chauncey Goldstein, Jonathan Hankins, who was your midseason addition. DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Odigizua, Carlos Watkins, and Sam Williams. And then when you look at what the Cowboys have this go around, by the way, it's the same group of guys. So the Cowboys didn't really lose much, but didn't improve there. And I think where your improvement's going to come from is, okay, is Sam Williams going to get better in year 2, which he should? What's going to happen with these other dudes that are on your roster? And then finally, are you going to add some guys in the draft? They're going to all these pro days. They are looking at edge guys. So it is possible that Dallas could take an edge or, a defensive end type of guy. not just a straight-up pass rusher. So I definitely think that that's really a big thing there. Okay, does Chauncey Goldstein move up? Also on that defensive interior, I think that's where you have to improve because, look, Jonathan Hankins, he should be back. From what I've been told, he should be back soon. It's just the OTAs and stuff like that, and he doesn't want to sign at this point in time. And then, you have Carlos Watkins, who was, again, a solid player for you. But what I think the Cowboys seriously need to do is really invest at one tech. Like, they have not had a legitimate one tech threat in years. And I think that that's something that's really kind of holding this Cowboys team back, is that you need to have that guy. And they're kind of starting to go at that. Quinn Bahana was really one of the first tries. And I mean, they did try it in free agency early in the Mike McCarthy whole administration, but we'll see how things go there. But right now, I would say defensive lineman, you're at a mid, you're right where you're at from last year. At linebacker, kind of similar to last year. So you had Anthony Barr, Damone Clark, Jabril Cox, Luke Gifford, who was more your special teams guy, Micah Parsons, and Leighton Vander Esch. You have the same group of guys this go around, except Luke Gifford signed elsewhere, and Anthony Barr is most likely gone. Nature doesn't really make a lot of one techs. You are right there, but they don't. They never really took any consideration to go in and try to get us that dude. So I'm hoping they can do that. Linebackers kind of in the same token of things. Like, you never really improved there yet, but that's a position you can address. Like, you can draft a linebacker or two. But you bringing Leighton Vander Esch was huge. Bringing him back, I think that that's probably one of the biggest signings this offseason, because now you kind of hope that Damone Clark takes a step forward. Maybe Jabril Cox can step up. I don't know if he will, but there's that. And then you have a couple other guys on roster. But again, please just continue to put some linebackers in that core, whether it means that we draft one earlier. Again, it's best player available at 26. So let's go to defensive backs. Let's see what we got going on here. And you probably already know what I'm going to say here, but defensive backs also include safeties. So let's take a look at the cornerback room. So Deron Bland, Stephon Gilmore, CJ Goodwin, your special teams ace, Kelvin Joseph, Jordan Lewis, and Trevon Diggs. You definitely upgraded. I'm not going to cut it short here. You definitely upgraded at your cornerback position. Now, look, I understand that the cornerback position, with what you got in Gilmore, is he that defensive player of the year type of guy? No, I don't think he's that anymore. But he's still a really damn good player, and it's not like you're asking him to be your number one corner. You asking Stephon Gilmore to be your number two corner is all that I need to see. It's an upgrade over Anthony Brown. And I think that this kind of is the writing on the wall, especially if they don't cut Jordan Lewis. It really seems like the writing on the wall for Kelvin Joseph. I think someone linked it to me. He put out something on Instagram where he basically said, like, I don't remember what he said, but he basically was like, oh, so that's how they're going to do it, or whatever the case may be. But that pretty much is where it's at there at corner. At safety, we all know you brought Donovan Wilson back. You have Israel Mukwama, who you have that flex to play him a corner, which I think he's more suited for, but they label him as a safety. J. Ron Curse, Malik Hooker, Tyler Coyle, and Marquise Bell. So the thing is that Malik Hooker, J. Ron Curse, and Donovan Wilson, they're looked at as the three guys there. I think that you can improve there, especially more so with the free safety position. I think at strong safeties, even the linebacker flex with these guys, you're good. I just think that with Malik Hooker, he had a down year, and you kind of saw that in some of the games where he did not help with what he was supposed to do. So I think that if I'm the Cowboys, don't be afraid to go after a safety in this draft as well. You can improve there. So I think the Cowboys improved at the defensive back spot, but I just think that safety, I think you can do a little bit better. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Who knows? So there is that. And then you go to your special teams. Now, they signed a kicker, Tristan Vizchan. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just Tristan. We're going to call him Tristan. Vizcano, I think that's how you pronounce it. And then Trent Sieg, and then you got Brian Anger there. I know I didn't mention Terrence Steele's name, but he's back there, but we kind of know the situation. But that's kind of where we're at, guys. I think that the Cowboys, aside from offensive line, arguably, you didn't really lose much, which is good. Last year, we had that conversation where, yeah, you did. This go around, you didn't. So I think that you can go into the draft and really add some guys. You have a pick in every single draft, in every single round, of the draft. And I think that right now, if you were to put a gun to my head and say, Space, what are we doing to improve this roster? Offensive line, defensive line. You can throw that edge and interior, but those front seven, or front four, excuse me. Linebacker and safety. Those are like my 4 pressing needs. If you want to, you can definitely grab a running back later. If you want to grab a wide receiver, that's fine. If you want to talk about getting, a developmental quarterback, some people have talked about that. That's fine too. But my 4 biggest pressing needs are on the trenches, offensive and defensive line, linebacker, and safety, free safety more specifically. Call him kicker, dude. Right. Ryan Branch would be a fantastic pickup. I would like to see him in Dallas. I know that Quinn was at Alabama's Pro Day, so that's interesting. I can't believe how we missed on Kelvin Joseph. Yeah, I know. KJ owns his money. I always wanted to know what happened with Sean Lee. We had a lot of hopes with him all the time. I don't know where he's at right now, but it's just his body broke down. Sean Lee would have been a Hall of Famer if he was fully healthy, all things considered. And then, with that being said, the Cowboys do have $13 million, 13.6 to be exact, in cap space at this current point in time. And, people keep talking about Bobby Wagner. People keep talking about so-and-so. I don't think they're going to sign them. I would be shocked, honestly. But I was hearing some rumors. Let me go out on Twitter. There was this thing where, they were saying how, hold on. Sorry, give me 1 second. There was a thing where they were talking about how, Ezekiel Elliott was, rumored to be going when he wants to go to the Eagles, the Jets, or the Bengals, which I think the Bengals makes some sense considering he went to Ohio State. And also, if he wants to wear the number 15, he isn't getting it in Philadelphia because that number is retired in Philadelphia. But it was funny because I was looking on Twitter, not that I really give a shit about this. Zeke can go wherever he wants to. I'm not going to complain if he goes to Philadelphia. I know a lot of Cowboys fans are going to throw a bitch fit if he does, but I don't really care because the last time we had a running back over there, they didn't really do so well. But Zeke is still a productive player. I'm not going to just, there are some people, I hope you suck it. Bro, he's going to be a productive player, short yardage dude that will rack up some touchdowns and really kind of match yardage and touchdown production. If he's trying to get to the Hall of Fame, you kind of need to get that yardage and more specifically those touchdowns up, which he still has some stuff left in the tank. Sean Lee is a coach or something like that. Heard he was doing some scouting on West Coast for us, but not full-time. Gotcha. It's nice that Zeke wants to go to those teams, but the question is, do they want him? So I was told that the Eagles don't want him because the Eagles are fine with the running backs they have, and also that's an indication they'll probably draft some people. Okay, cool. Go ahead, draft Bijan Robinson, okay, the thing is, and I'm going to just tell you this right now, and maybe I might be drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't know. I just think right now with the moves that Dallas has made and with where Philadelphia is at. I think that the gap is close. Dallas is definitely in the mix to win the division next year, but just got to keep an eye out on New York. New York's going to be a sneaky team this year. Zeke is wanted by the Bengals or Jets. I'm just trying to think, like, if he goes to the Jets, I know that Aaron Rodgers is supposed to go there. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think would be best for him? I think for him, going to the Bengals would make more sense. Who would you think would have a breakout season out of all the players we have? Oh, who do I think will have who's going to have a breakout season? Let me double check the roster because I think out of all the guys on the roster, I'm gonna say Sam Williams has a breakout season. I'm gonna go with Sam Williams. I think Sam Williams made strides last year, and I think he's definitely gonna be a really good player next year. And also he's gonna be the reason why Dorrance Armstrong doesn't get a second contract. Let me take a look here. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm on Twitter. Dan Rogers is beefing with burgers and blitzes, and I think it's fucking hilarious. That might be my next show, is talking about Dan Rogers and just him just carrying water for the fucking front office. Which, by the way, I'm not shitting on the front office this offseason. They actually met our expectations and what I wanted them to do. So props to them. Like, I'm not giving them shit, but like, he's been on a terrible streak. If Philly gets Bijan, we'll be in some trouble with that offensive line and hurts his ability to run and pass. Definitely would need to upgrade some positions on defense. Well, here's how I look at it, and I could be wrong because I'm not an expert on the Eagles, and I don't want to act like I am. So if there's an Eagles fan that's watching this, and I'm not trying to trash your team, I just don't know. I just think that you drafting Bijan Robinson is not the best move because with how much you've lost, like you lose 5 starters on defense. You brought back Slay, you brought back Bradbury, but you kind of need a lot more talent there. Offensively, I think they lost a starting guard in Isaac Suamelo or whatever his name is, one of their starting guards. They still have good weaponry, no question about that. But if I'm the Eagles, I don't think a running back makes sense at pick 10 or even at the end of the first round. I'm just being realistic with you. I just think that Philadelphia would be wasting a draft pick there. How long do you think it would take us to adjust to the new Mike McCarthy system on offense? Jesus. I don't know. I mean, it could. Usually, here's how it works. Teams usually don't get into a groove until like week 5. So I'm not that big on that. I think that you had to get your players first. They basically had to pick Slay to come back. I know, right? Like, he wanted to go to Dallas and all this other shit. And there, what's going on, Mike? How's it going? So I just think it's funny. I think that the Eagles drafting Bijan Robinson wouldn't make sense for them because you have you lose 5 guys on defense on your starting side of things, and you're gonna take a running back. Go ahead, like, go ahead. I'm more than happy for them to do that. But yeah, I think that Mike McCarthy's system is not gonna be hard because you got to realize that this isn't like Kellen Moore's system where there's a lot more complex things into it. Like, it's Air Coryell, and obviously the option routes didn't help younger guys like Jalen Tolbert, for example, or guys that were not able to be up to par. But I think it's going to help you all around. Just got to manage the game better. I don't think it'll take long for the wide receivers, less complicated without the option routes plus the added. Exactly, Brian. I think that I don't have an issue there. I mean, that's what they should do. They should fall back and pick up some picks, but who am I to tell them what to do? But yeah, I definitely think that would be the case there. But yeah, I mean, hold on, let's see what's going on here. But yeah, I wouldn't. They also re-signed Tack McKinley, by the way. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about Zeke going to Philadelphia. Apparently, Philadelphia never reached out to him. I think Tolbert gets 600 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, for Tolbert, he's not going to be asked to do a whole lot. He's not. Like, Jalen Tolbert's going to be a dude where if he can give you anything, he'll be fine. This draft is a weak class. They can pick up some picks all day long. Premium players won't be there. I agree. I mean, and that's the thing, Mike, is that I'm okay with them drafting a dude. If they want to draft a dude at 10, that's fine, but I don't think that's smart draft capital management. Because it's not top heavy as you would want it to be, especially when you have like a top, like I'm trying to think of a team, like if you're a team like Arizona, for example, that has a top 3 pick, okay, you got some solid players there, but I'm not a fan of where you would be positioned in the middle rounds. Like Dallas being positioned at 26 is fine, but I would be a little bit more upset if I was in the 17 range, because like it's like when you look at these prospects, and I kind of had to go back and look. I don't have a lot of first round grades. I probably have. I originally started with 18. Now it's down to 13. Like it's or 14. I got to double check, but it's definitely not as strong as years past. It's probably as weak as 2013, which plays into your favor if you don't have a good draft pick. So, how many people we got watching? I'm curious. 31 people watching. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Cowboys After Hours. If you want to, by all means, hit the like button. We're almost to 40 likes. Let's try to push it there. Subscribe if you're new, and if you want to support the channel further, click on the little link thing, and you can subscribe there, and if you want to be a channel member, that's fine. Who's your ideal pick at 26? I'm a Bijan Nolan and Drew Sanders guy. If we get one of those 3, I'll be thrilled. Out of those 3, I want Nolan. Well, I'm really high on Drew Sanders, but I would probably go with Nolan Smith. I think Nolan Smith would fit what they're trying to get. And at this point, let's see here. This draft doesn't have a lot of meat. It's more of a side type draft. That's role players and like mashed potatoes and green beans. Well, if the Cowboys draft an offensive lineman in the first round, you know you're getting a stud there. I think the Cowboys can trade away 5, 6, and 7. Gallimore would be a player to trade, and Jordan Lewis could be a player to trade. Yeah, I think that I would agree with you there. Like, and this is the thing, Mike, and I'm not sure if you've talked about it, and I don't know your thoughts on it, but for me, anything after day 3, trade for a starter. Just trade for a starter like you did with Cooks and Gallimore. Or Gallimore. Good Lord. Gilmore. What are your thoughts? Get D-Hop and a good tight end in the draft. Pick up Bobby Wagner and other picks in the draft. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I'm sorry. But DeAndre Hopkins, that ship has sailed because the money they're paying to these dudes, they're not going to give them. They're not going to get them. A good tight end in the draft, I mean, Kincaid was intriguing, but then when it came out with the back issues, I'm like, no. They met with, who was it? Schoonmaker, Luke Schoonmaker of Michigan, but I'm not taking him in the first round. I think for me, it's really, if you are in round 3 and the tight end position is the best guy on your board, I'm cool with it. Again, I'm all for BPA. What did you also say? Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's not coming here. After they signed LVE, they kind of made it. And also, I think they've only played with. They don't really pay 2 off-ball linebackers. Hearing anything about one tech besides Hankins? Not really. Also, with Cooks, you would think we see Turpin and Cooks on the field at the same time. Oh, no, that's not happening. That would be rare. I think that would be fun. That would be fun to have two speed guys out there, but I don't think Dallas would do that. How do you think Isaac Alaquorn will do on? We'll see. But this kind of, I like Isaac. I think this is kind of more of a desperation move on his end. I'm not trying to say like he's shitty. It's just that, when you move positions like that, unless you make a mark, and that's something to keep an eye out on, that's kind of it. That offensive line would be like a big piece of chicken. I agree with that. Okay. Do you think in our secondary they will move Diggs to a number 2 receiver and Gilmore to a number 1, a similar thing they did with when they had Dion? No, I don't think they're going to do that. Then again, it depends on the matchup. Thank you, Mike. Lyle Collins he's expected to be released. Well, ain't that something? That would have been a lot better if we got a trade for him. But yeah, I mean, he's just hurt guy and sucks for him, but oh well. Let's see here. I'm just seeing, is there anything other news that's come out? Everyone's complaining about Zeke. Oh, don't go to the Philadelphia. I could care less what Zeke does. It's his career. Are you doing a Q&A type live? No, I mean, we went through the, okay, did the Cowboys really have a really good offseason? Is this their best offseason in quite some time? We kind of went into, is this team also better than 2022? I just think that right now, this is probably the best offseason Dallas has done in terms of re-signing their guys, bringing in quality guys that we have proven talent in maybe 20 years. But this is kind of the Q&A portion. We're probably going to do that for the last 10, 15 minutes. Because we're just having some fun vibes over here. Last thing. Since Dallas restructured Gallup, that means can't trade. I'm hearing a lot of fans want to move on. There was out after this year. So, you can trade Gallup. You 110% can trade Gallup. The problem is that if you were someone that was like, I don't want to touch his contract because I'm worried that, hey, I can't get out of the deal. That's the problem, right? And I think the cap number isn't it's not at a disadvantage for the Cowboys to trade him, but they're not going to. They're not going to. They're definitely still arrogant about that contract, and they want to make it seem like, yes, we made the right deal keeping Michael Gallup, but we'll see there. If this was 26 Zeke going to the Eagles, I'd be worried. Don't worry about that. Any other questions you guys have? Because got about 5-10 more minutes, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Give Hankins a little extra to get him in early, better conditioning. Yeah, front office. Yeah, I think it's because he doesn't want to take part in OTAs, so there's that. Hoodlum, what's going on, man? KHY, what's up, Space? What's the final move you would want them to do? Bring back Hankins, but I think that's pretty much it. I know there was a guy from the Rams, Robinson. Was it Ashawn Robinson? I think it is. I have to do some looking into him because that's a name that everyone's talking to me about. Oh, do you think we should get him? I don't know a lot about him because the Rams I didn't watch, but I'm gonna take a look. What would you get for him? Gallup at this point in his career, something 5th. I don't know, but I don't think anybody's gonna do that. I've heard talks of Jerry Jeudy going to the Browns along with Cooper. Yeah, that could happen, but I don't know. What's your realistic draft wish list at 26? Knowing the Cowboys, you're probably looking at an offensive lineman, maybe an edge rusher, or a linebacker. Now, at the Combine, they were saying it's going to be it's a mix of running back, pass catcher, and I believe cornerback. but I don't think they're going to do cornerback. They should still try, but I think, I don't know. It's hard because there's still so much that's going on. Well, you'll probably find out later on, but if it were me, probably Steve Avila, probably. He's going to be a first-round pick this year. Steve Avila is going to be a dude where if you pick him up, he gives you left guard flexibility. That's especially if you re-sign Tyler Biadasz. If you don't re-sign him, like Tyler Biadasz, you can plug Steve Avila in at center. He's going to be your center for the next 10 years. Do you think Diggs will hold out? Maybe. Michael was campaigning for Calais Campbell a few weeks back. He's available now. I think Calais Campbell's going to go to Atlanta. He's visiting with Atlanta. I mean, I wouldn't mind that, but BPA, yeah, BPA all day, Brandon. 110% agree there. Now, who do you think would be a good pick in the draft to replace Connor McGovern? Hold on, sorry. I'm just reading up what's going on Twitter. I'm sorry. Who do you think would be a good pick in the draft to replace Connor McGovern? I mean, it's all about who you like at guard. I think that for me, I think a good pick would be Steve Avila. My issues with Osiris Torrance is the weight issues that has been coming out. I think that that's going to be a massive red flag, but if he can get that under control, he'll be a really good player. But I think that the best or good pick would be Steve Avila. Everyone would be not like that because it's an offensive line pick, but Space Cowboy, would you be mad if we drafted Dalton Kincaid? Knowing with where we're at, if he's the best player on the board, I'm not gonna be upset. Others will be. Darnell Washington. I'm all for that. But again, I think it has to make sense. Like, you can't just take Dalton Kincaid, especially if there's better players on the board. But also, you got to know the price of admission. I say the same thing with running backs or other picks. Like, if you know what you're getting into, that's fine. But I really, really, really would hope that we stick away from that. What are your thoughts on Ferguson being the go-to tight end? I think he's going to be on the same track as Schultz. What about Buckner? I don't think Buckner came out and he said that he wasn't. I heard something on Twitter. Where was it? I'm trying to find it. He didn't say he wanted to do anything. Let's see here. He tweeted at NFL Rumors, that account, and they were like, yo, stop making shit up. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to throw them out here. We're kind of just in the overtime portion, and I wasn't really going to be on here for long. Oh, by the way, next Tuesday, me and Cole's Cowboys will be doing a show. So I'm going to make sure that I remind everybody the day before, not the day before, but the day of. I'll put out the live stream preset and then also the reminder. So I hope you guys tune into that because that should be fun. We're going to try and get some more people on here. We'll talk more and more about adding more people on here, but he was one of the first people that reached out and wanted to do something. So we're going to get something done. Let's see. If Jason somewhere... Oh, yeah, Carlos, of course. If you were the GM... What move would you make? What move would you make to make us better than San Francisco and the Eagles? Well, where the Cowboys are at right now, the move, honestly, that's tough because you look at what. So here's the thing: San Francisco's loading up that defense because they're, it doesn't seem like they're going to be getting a quarterback. Like, they're going to be stuck with what they got. So to me, I think you fight fire with fire. I think you go, because I know people bring up Buckner. I would actually think You add DeForest Buckner or a talent like that on your defensive line, and let's boogie. I think that's an all-in move. Like that, he has a big cap hit, but I think this is the window, and I think you can get rid of him. Let me see his contract actually. I would just, and then just draft the rest of it. Let me see his contract. Okay, he's in his potential out phase, so like you can cut him and there's no dead money, so I would definitely take him. 110%. DeForest Buckner is in an out period, so like I would just open up some cap space and just get him for like a year. When is Darnell Washington getting drafted? Round 1 or 2? I'm gonna say late round 1, early round 2. What do you think will it take for Dak naysayers to finally trust him? Win a Super Bowl. That's just where it's at. I agree. I believe the front office. I will believe this front office has truly changed when we pay Diggs and Cini sooner rather than. I agree there. If you was the GM, would you trade your third for D-Hop right now and even after the Cooks trade? I mean, if that's all it's gonna take. Here's what I would do. I would wait until draft day to make that decision. If I lose out on Hopkins for like someone else overpaying, whatever. But I would wait until draft day and then make the move. If you want to go like, yo, let's load this fucking clip, that's what you do. What do you think we should do at middle linebacker? Well, right now, I think you need to add like another guy in free agency at least and then draft a dude. I mean, who would I start right now? I mean, right now, I don't think the guy's on the roster. DeForest Buckner would cost a first and something else. I don't think so. I don't think, maybe a second round pick, but not, he wouldn't cost you a first, considering his big ass cap hit. Could you say Tyler Smith is Eric Williams in the making? We need to ask me that in 2 more years. I need to see Tyler Smith over the next 2 seasons. He can definitely be one of the next best great Cowboys linemen, but it's way too early to say anything like that. I think if he can at least get us to the NFC Championship game, the pressure would subside for Dak. He'll do something that hasn't been done. Nah, dude, that's not how it works here. How it works here is that, and I can't speak for others, I can only go off of how people have been talking. Until we win a championship with Dak Prescott, he's going to keep getting shit. Whether you think that's justified or not, that's not for me to tell you, but that's just where we're at, guys. Yeah, so, I mean, listen, if the Cowboys think that Dak Prescott is not the man to do the job, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to complain about that, but they kind of had to put the money where the mouth is. You know, if you think that he's the guy, then you have to do what you got to do to build around him. NFL front offices are smart and understand who they have. What do you mean by that, Hoodlum? Yeah, I'll go maybe a couple more minutes. Once again, guys, I appreciate all the likes and support. 47 people watching. You know, you guys have been definitely showing up and showing out. And I'm super grateful for everyone that's been supporting this because I definitely want to try and get my live stream game up. And I'm hoping moving forward we can continue to do that. So next week we'll have a show on Tuesday. Got to figure out the time still with Cole's Cowboys. What's your draft order 1 through 3 by position? Like, if we're talking about what I would do, like what's more important, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker. Anything else outside of that, like that's needs. Like that's what I would think is a need. Let's take a look here. Agree. QBs always get too much credit for wins and too much blame for losses. Therefore, Dak needs to win a bowl to get credit. Like, that's right, Mike, and that's just where it's at. I think that if I'm being completely honest with you, teams win championships. And that's not anything against Mahomes or anything against, Brady or anything like that. It's just what it is, dude. Like, you're going to need someone good to help you get there. But again, like my guy Nick's always says on Twitter, and we've said it in the channel, in our conversations we've had, organizations win championships. There's a reason why Dallas has not been to the conference championship game in nearly 30 years. It's because you have not done your part as an organization. Now, that doesn't take away blame from players not doing their job, but that's just where it's at. I like Aubrey Miller, linebacker out of Jackson State. What do you think? I got to look into him, buddy. I have not seen anything about him, so I'll definitely keep an eye out on him. Are you doing a live show for the draft? I got to see my schedule. I got to see, I know where the draft is. I just got to see what my schedule is going to look like around that time. If it works, I will be doing a live show. If not, there's that. So we've been going off for almost an hour, guys. So it is time for me to exit stage left. Another good show in the bag for Cowboys After Hours. Thank you guys so much. And I'll answer your last question, Shay, and then I'll get going. What are your thoughts on Zeke potentially going to the Eagles? He's not going to be going to Philadelphia. Apparently, Philadelphia has come out and made it clear that they're good with the running backs they have now, and that there hasn't been real communication there. So, a couple last things before I let you guys go. If you want to, by all means, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell, especially if you enjoy these live streams, so we can continue to do them together. I put out a link so that you can subscribe easy, and also if you want to become a media member, which is the little channel memberships, click on the link. It should send you there. I'm not sure if it works on iOS, but if you're on desktop watching this, you can definitely take part in doing that. You get shouted out in the end of the videos, and it helps make the channel better overall and puts more towards, getting the green screens, the light that you see in front of me that's blinding me, the microphone. Any support would be greatly appreciated, but not required. So we're trying to get to 10 members by the draft, and with that being said, hold up, thought I saw something on Twitter. What are the Raiders? Hold on, I saw something about the Raiders owner. Something happened. Okay, it's a nothing. Yes, Cowboy D. That is going to be the video that's coming up later tonight. I'm going to talk about Tony Pollard signing his franchise tag and what it's going to mean, and what the Cowboys' roadmap is going to look like at the running back position. So expect that later. Well, not tonight, but I'm going to record it tonight, and it should come out earlier tomorrow morning. There will be a video out about Tony Pollard, because that's a real big situation. Like, I'm not going to do a video for every single signing we do, because I feel like that's redundant. Like, I shouldn't have, let me go put together on one video talking about a backup running back. Like, I'm not going to do that. So we definitely will be talking about Tony Pollard in the next video, though. So I actually have that on my list of videos to get done. Alrighty, guys, I got to get going. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys.